Hello, this is my sixth review for my Classics Club challenge to read at least 50 books over a period of 5 years. And this month, June 2019 or 2019, I've read The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I don't have a garden myself, but I just have these plastic leaves, so they'll have to do. So I chose to read The Secret Garden this month because June for us is when the school finishes, and so it's a time when we have a bit more time to relax and have fun for the children. So I chose a children's novel, also because it's something a little bit lighter to start off the summer with. So basically, The Secret Garden tells the story of an English girl who lives in India, and her parents die of an epidemic, and so she has to move back to England with her only surviving relative, which is her uncle. And it's a very different environment for her because she's been used to a very spoilt existence where she's had people looking after her, and she has got a very stronger character, and she's not very kind to them, and she's a bit spoilt, let's say. When she moves to England, she moves to a big house with the big gardens, and she's a bit surprised by the change in her role, because in India she was considered like a little mistress, but in England people just consider her as a little girl, and in fact she has the opportunity then to become more of a little girl, and she's encouraged to do things like go and play outside and explore and things like that. As she does so, it starts to sort of widen and improve her character, because she meets different people, the maids, the gardener, one of the maids' brothers, but also some animals, including a robin, and they sort of start to open up her world a little bit. She hears about a secret garden because she's encouraged to spend a lot of time outside. She hears from one of the gardeners about a secret garden, and she's really intrigued to find it. And eventually she does so with the help of a robin who becomes like her friend. And when she goes inside, she falls in love with the garden, and she decides to take care of it and try to get it back into its original state. To do so, she has a little bit of help from Dickin, who's the brother of one of the maids, and also the old gardener, I think his name is Ben. And there's also, as well as the gardens, there's a big house, and as she's sort of exploring the house, she hears some cries, because there's some strange voices coming from one of the rooms. So yeah, it's a little bit like Jane Eyre there, but it's not a wife, but it is in fact her Mary's cousin, who she didn't know was there. What happened was that his mother died in childbirth, and his father was devastated by the death of his wife, and so basically became convinced that his son was some sort of cripple and kept him locked away in a room with lots of attention from doctors and so on. The Colin is an interesting character because he starts off very much like Mary was in the beginning when she first went to England, but then with her help he becomes softer. And hearing stories from Mary about her garden and the project that she's got going with Dickon there, encourage him to want to get better and to explore outside and everything. And so he eventually does this. Meantime, his father's away because he can't bear to spend too much time in the house because it reminds him of too much of his dead wife. But as Colin gets better and starts spending more time outside, then the staff in the house think it's right to call him back, and then when he comes back, he sees that his son is strong and healthy and happy, and he's really over the moon to see this, and it gives him a real sort of a new lease of life. So in the end, it's Mary who sort of helped to improve the situation in that new house. Yeah, there's lots of lovely themes in this book. It's a real sort of feel-good story, and one of the important things is the relationship between human beings and animals and nature. There are a couple of characters who at first have a good relationship with nature, and they're Dickon and the gardener Ben. And so I've got lots of bells there. Okay. And another important character is a robin who helps Mary to find a secret garden. And they have the robin, as well as some of the plants in the garden. They have a role in the book which is very important, but it's not like in a cartoonish Disney sort of way, but with full respect of their own nature. And Dickon helps Mary to get an understanding of nature and the relationship between man and nature, which is really nice, and I think it's good for us in these days when we are thinking about respecting nature and the environment more. That's a nice thing to remind us of. Another thing I like is the way that it talks. It includes people of different classes or social status, that they come together, and in the end it doesn't really matter anymore, because Mary starts off with full of her own importance, because she's been a bit spoiled in India, and she feels a bit superior to everyone, but the servants don't consider her as more important. They consider themselves as adults as in a superior role to her, but they're all still very friendly with her. And Mary is encouraged to play with Dickon, who is the son of one of the maids' families. Is the sister of one of the maids, but they're all connected. And there's the gardener Ben and the owner. They all just work together. They've all got different ages, but they all come together and they have things in common. Another interesting thing is the again, by way of extension, perhaps the friendships between the characters, because it's really the friendship with the animals and with human beings that brings Mary, but also Colin, out of their a rut that they've got themselves into. And so it's the friendship with Mary and with Dickon that helped to cure Colin. But first, it's Mary who is cured by her friendship with the Robin and with Dickon. So there's a whole sort of mix of people helping each other out, and there's a feeling of the power of a friendship as a great healing power. So that's really nice. But often people say that a children's book is a good one to start off with if you're a non-native reader. And in this case, I agree. There's not very much complicated language. It's all quite straightforward. But if you do like a language and you're looking for something a bit more meaty, then you could look into some of the Indian terms that Mary uses to refer to the servants. That could be something quite interesting to look into. And then what else? Oh yes, in the story they mention a quote from I guess it's a nursery rhyme. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. And this story has some interesting origins. So often the rhymes or the songs that we sing when we are children, their history is not as innocent or as straightforward as we think. So I think that's something really interesting to have a look at as well. Yes, and then in terms of quotes, my two favourite quotes have been, if we look really well, we can see that the whole world is a garden. And then I also like one that talks about finding magic in everything that you see. Yeah, so it's a real sort of feel-good novel. So yes, it has been fun to read it. But as I said, it is quite light, so I'm looking forward to reading now The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. It's an American novel, and I'm really looking forward to that because I think that's going to be a bit more meaty, to get my teeth into some more meaty themes or vocabulary. So if you'd like to join me in reading that, you'll be able to find the book in different formats on my website, lostinclassics.club, and then I'll be back during the month with some interesting quotes or comments on Instagram, and another review at the end of July. So I'm going to go now because I'm getting quite hot sitting down here as I go out of my garden and into the house. Okay, bye bye.